Normally, fibbing is not nice, but it's not the same when you do it to an object that's just designed to help you. And there's a good reason to sometimes not tell your charting device the whole truth and nothing but the truth. I will use this new ravishing raglan pattern that I'm working on as an example. Here is a newborn size, knitted in 7 stitches, 10 rows per inch, fingering weight yarn. Here I'm knitting it as directed by the chart with the correct gauge put in. But suppose I wanted to knit it for a preemie and needed to have it only come out 16 inches around rather than the 18 it's designed to be. What could I do if this is all I had to work with? I could do a teeny weeny bit of math, just enough to convince the charting device to knit the size I wanted. I want a 16-inch sweater. That would be 8 inches front and 8 inches back. And I am still using fingering weight yarn and still getting 7 stitches per inch. So multiplying 8, the width I want, by 7, I get 56, and I need a couple for seaming. So I need 58 stitches across the front, 58 across the back. But this is a pattern made in halves, so I only need half of 58. Dividing it by 2, I discover I need 29. All I must do is look through the rulers until I find the one that aligns the number 29 with the right hand edge, which is actually both outer edges of the diagram, and I will automatically get the correct width. So install that ruler. The newborn sweater was designed to be 10 inches long. I have determined that I only want my preemie sweater 8 inches long. So I find the relationship between those two. And 8 inches is 80% of 10 inches. Very simple. True gauge is 40 rows per 4 inches, but I only want 80% of that length, so I will multiply the real gauge by 0.8, which is 80%, to find out what to tell the machine my gauge is, and it comes out 32. Changing the gauge dial to 32 should cause the machine to knit 80% of the length on the drawing. The machine's feelings will not be hurt by this act of dishonesty. It only wants to make you happy, and if you get a preemie sweater out of it, you will be happy. You can use this anytime the proportions will work out correctly. Example, if the largest size of a sweater is bust 40 and you really need the room of a bust 42, yes, it will usually work. Adults are close enough to the same proportions, larger and smaller, that will tend to work. However, if I want to turn a baby sweater into an adult sweater, this is not a white lie. Not a fib, because adults and babies are proportioned very differently, and it probably won't work. Things to check before you decide to proceed are how large will the neckline come out, especially with babies. Making it a percentage smaller, which is what we're really doing, may make it too small. Another area that can go awry is armhole depth. So what you'll want to do is just a little bit more math or a dry run with the pattern and find out how many stitches are you going to end up left with around the neckline, and is that going to encircle the person's head all right, or will you need to do something to make easier access? Ditto with the armhole depth. Is it going to be gaping and ridiculous? Is it going to be cutting up under your arms? Double check that, and then you're good to go. The simplest way to check those things is to measure a garment that does fit the intended wearer, to check if you're within the comfortable range of neckline size and armhole depth. If you can't do that, the Craft Yarn Council has a nice standards chart that tells you about what to expect at every size and age. As you can see, we did get a sweater proportionately smaller, sweater front, than the original.